Hello, my friends. Let's start with some very interesting news that emerged after the negotiations between the US and Ukraine. Zelensky has officially stated that Ukraine is ready to hold fire along the entire front line and in the air for 30 days. During these 30 days of silence, negotiations would take place to reach a full end to the war.
And today, in the discussions, the American side proposed taking the first step, even further establishing a full ceasefire for 30 days. Not just for missiles, drones, and bombs, not just in the Black Sea, but across the entire front line. Ukraine welcomes this proposal, we see it as positive, and we are ready to take this step. The United States must convince Russia to do the same. That means we agree, and if the Russians agree, silence will take effect immediately. A key part of today's discussions is America's readiness to restore defensive aid to Ukraine, as well as intelligence support. If the agreement is implemented, then during these 30 days of ceasefire, we will be able to work with our partners to draft all necessary documents to ensure long-term peace and security. Ukraine is ready for peace. Now, Russia must show whether it is ready to end or continue the war. The time for full truth has come. Thank you to all our diplomats and the team currently in Saudi Arabia. Thank you to everyone who helped Ukraine. Thank you to every person fighting and working for our country and our people.
Friends, this is a very important decision, and if everything works out, the first step toward ending the war will happen very soon. And Trump said he hopes Putin will agree to this.
But very importantly, and I said it, Ukraine, ceasefire. Ukraine, ceasefire. Just agreed to a little while ago. Now we have to go to Russia, and hopefully President Putin will agree to that also, and we can get this show on the road. We can get this horrible war where 3,000 soldiers a week, every week, 2, 3, 4,000 sometimes. I get the reports, and they're not American soldiers. They're Ukrainian and they're Russian. But people are being killed outside of that. People are being killed in the cities as things explode throughout the cities. And we want to get that war over with. So I think it's a very big, I think it's a big difference between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think the ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, that'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to get killed. Lots of people.
What do you think about this? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments. And Rubio said that now the decision depends solely on the Russian side. The main gesture of goodwill that Russia can show right now is a positive response, saying yes to the proposal for a temporary ceasefire. This would be an important symbol and a significant gesture confirming a willingness to negotiate. All factors are being considered: the release of war hostages, the return of children. And the most important thing Russia can do now is to reciprocate Ukraine's proposal with agreement. After yesterday's negotiations in Saudi Arabia, Trump said he is ready to invite Zelensky to the White House again. Trump stated that he is willing to invite Zelensky to the White House once more. He has made this announcement following the conclusion of negotiations in Saudi Arabia. He also announced an upcoming meeting with the Russian side, which is expected to take place soon. Moreover, after successful negotiations in Saudi Arabia, Walt said that the US is ready to resume aid to Kyiv.
As a result of that, and I think as a result of this positive step forward, the president has decided to lift the pause on aid.
And Yermak shared the preliminary results of the negotiations.
The main achievements and results of today's meeting are, first and foremost, the immediate resumption of American aid and intelligence sharing. We also discussed all issues related to the process of ending the war, ending it with a just peace. Of course, as you've seen, I think the joint statement mentions that our European friends and partners will necessarily be involved in this process. Our American partners will now be speaking with the Russian side, saying here is the opportunity to move forward if Russia is truly ready for it. And this will be clear after today's meeting. It is 100% evident. As even stated in the joint declaration, the key to peace today is in Russia's hands. And now the whole world will see who truly wants peace and who only talks about it.
Moreover, Macron also supported the 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine and stated that the ball is now clearly in Russia's court. Overall, the situation is developing in a very interesting way, and there is a chance for an unexpected truce, which is certainly a positive development. Perhaps that's why Russian forces have intensified their actions in the Kursk direction to clear Russian territory of Ukrainian forces units before the ceasefire begins. And it's evident that they achieving significant success. They have regained control over a large portion of the territory that had been captured by Ukrainian forces. Now, the key question remains Suja and a few nearby settlements. Reports indicate that Russian troops are already advancing through the streets of Suja. On the battlefield, Ukrainian forces will likely to withdraw to prepared defensive positions on Ukrainian territory. Hopefully, they exist. However, the retreat has come at a very high cost with significant losses. Russian forces continue to release videos showing the destruction of retreating equipment, making this situation extremely difficult. For now, we wait to see how events unfold. Overnight, Ukrainian forces units began reporting that Ukrainian forces have almost entirely withdrawn from the Kursk region. We are waiting for official confirmation. Now let's move on to the Pokrovsk direction. This is where Russian forces are most active, attempting to encircle Pokrovsk. However, it appears that Ukrainian forces has disrupted their plans. The Russians are now trying to regain lost positions near Udachne, pushing towards the outskirts of Pokrovsk, and continuing assaults on Lysivka, Promень, and Yelizavetivka. Over the past 24 hours, there have been no territorial changes. Ukrainian forces have managed to repel all attacks, though the situation remains difficult and the intensity of shelling hasn't decreased. The entire frontline area continues to be controlled by FPV drones. Additionally, many remember reports that Ukrainian forces units had entered the outskirts of Shevchenko, a fact confirmed by Russian war correspondents. Today, those same correspondents are reporting that Ukrainian forces are being pushed out in Shevchenko. As a result of counterattacks by Russian forces, the Ukrainians have been expelled from the eastern part. Fighting continues for the northern part. So far, pushing Russian forces further away from Pokrovsk hasn't been successful. In the Kurakhove direction, the Russians are pushing towards Kotlerivka and assaulting Oleksiivka, Konstantinopel, and Rozliv. However, despite their high level of activity, they haven't managed to advance further. Over the past 24 hours, there have been no territorial changes. In the Velika Novosilka direction, Russian forces are also maintaining the intensity, attempting to break through to the Donetsk region's border. Today, assaults continue on Dnieproenergia with advances toward Vesele, as well as fighting in the areas of Burlatske, Privilne, and Novosilka. Heavy shelling persists, but no territorial changes have been recorded over the past day. In the Zaporizhia direction, Russian forces are attempting to break through to Novodanilivka, assaulting Sherbaki, P'ятихатки and advancing toward Stepove. The activity has remained high for over a week, and they are not hesitating to use reserves for relentless assaults. However, they haven't achieved any success so far, as Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacks. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces persist in advancing on the islands near Kherson. They continue shelling the right bank, but over the past 24 hours, there have been no significant changes and the situation remains stable. And now, moving on to the Toretsk direction. Russian forces are maintaining the activity here as well, claiming the capture of Delivka and continuing assaults on Sherbinivka, the central part of Toretsk, as well as near Krymske, Dachne, and Druzhba. If we look at geolocation maps, Russian advances are indeed confirmed, but only closer to Delivka. There is no verified information yet regarding the full capture of the village, so we will have to wait and see how the situation develops. For now, the battles continue. In the Chasiv Yar direction, Russian forces continue storming the central part of the city, attempting to advance toward Bila Hora and from Kurdyumivka. There have been no territorial changes over the past day, but the situation remains difficult. Daily assaults persist and the intensity of shelling is not decreasing. Due to their use of logistical networks, Russian forces are able to bring in more reserves closer to the front, meaning their numbers in this area are not declining but rather increasing. In the Siversk direction, attacks on Verkhnyokamensky and Fedorivka continue. Russian forces are also shelling Siversk, but they haven't achieved any success, and the front line remains unchanged. In the Liman direction, Russian troops persist in assaulting Zarichne, Ямполівка, Kolodyazi, Zelena Dolina, also Lipove, while attempting to advance toward Novomykhailivka. As seen elsewhere, Russian forces are operating at maximum intensity, trying to break through Ukrainian defenses and reach Liman. They are in a hurry to gain ground, but their rapid pace hasn't translated into success as Ukrainian defenders continue to repel all attacks. In the Borova direction, Russian forces are assaulting Boguslavka and attempting to break through near Lozova. However, activity here is significantly lower than in other areas, and the Russians haven't achieved any successes. Further south, the situation remains calm with no new Russian offensives. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian troops are still trying to storm Petropavlivka and advance near Stepova Novoselivka, but no changes have occurred in the past 24 hours as Ukrainian forces successfully repel all attacks. In the Dvorichna direction, the situation remains quiet with no new shelling or offensive actions reported. In the Kharkiv direction, Russian forces are not displaying significant activity at the moment. However, Ukrainian forces are also not rushing to push them out of Ukrainian territory. Meanwhile, fighting in Vovchansk continues with the situation remaining unchanged. But hopes remain that the front will come to a complete halt soon and that a ceasefire will begin. Andriy Yermak has stated that security guarantees for Ukraine will be established.
Security guarantees, it's very important because we want that never this aggression never repeated in the future again. Of course, it's very important, but now we think it's necessary to discuss the most important how to start this process. and we're very open. We're very open, and we want to have very constructive, deep, friend partners conversation with our American partners.
It has been reported that US support has been renewed. I have confirmation that security assistance from the US has been restored, said Pavlo Palisa, deputy head of the presidential office. At the same time, it's important to know that many have started recalling last year's statement by Putin regarding the cessation of the war.
Ukrainian forces must be completely withdrawn from the Donetsk, Luhansk People's Republics, as well as from the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. I would like to emphasize that it should be from all the territory of these regions within their administrative boundaries, as they were at the time of their entry into Ukraine. As soon as Kiev announces its readiness for such a solution and begins the real withdrawal of troops from these regions, and officially notifies the rejection of plans to join NATO from our side in order to cease fire and begin negotiations will follow immediately.
As seen at that time, Putin demanded the full withdrawal of troops. However, we hope that today Trump will be able to reach an agreement with Putin on a ceasefire. Friends, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. At the same time, various Russian lawmakers are stating that they don't agree with a 30-day ceasefire. I believe this is absolutely unacceptable. Some temporary ceasefire, temporary truce. This is what the president spoke about. It's unacceptable. It only benefits the Ukrainian fascists who will regroup, replenish their ranks, and refill their drones in 30 days. Look at how much was attacked during the night. We definitely don't need this. However, these statements are most likely of no significance, and a concrete decision will be made after Trump's team meets with the Russians and presents their conditions. It will then be decided whether Russia agrees to a ceasefire or not. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.